Yo, so I finished the guitars. I made a video about it that was like 2 hours long, but I had problems with the video, with the audio. But how the fuck do you do it again? Okay, project info. So we've been working on this thing for 9 hours. Really? 9 hours and 52 minutes. That's awkward. No, it's probably like 4 hours. This is like 4 hours work. Because it took me 2 hours to do all the guitars. But I was talking and explaining also about synths and how to recreate synths. So it was probably like an hour and a half of the whole thing. Then the bass just took me like 30 minutes. The drums also took me 30 minutes. So put it together, it was 1 hour, a 1 hour video. So yeah, this is probably like a 4 hours job. Anyway, so this 10 hours here, it's fake. I know this because I can actually make this entire song in less than 10 hours. So that's how I know it. So yeah, I had trouble with this video, so I started to record another one, but yeah, the thing is already done. So yeah, how can you go about doing this? Especially because there are no tabs or whatever online. So worst case scenario, you can try to look for ints on the official video, because the guy is only playing the lead guitar throughout the entire video. He's not playing the rhythmic guitars. And I know this one because I was trying to see if he tuned the guitar in drop tuning or if it was standard tuning. But it doesn't really matter. It was just one of my curiosity. So yeah, so the intro to this song is quite easy. There is only this lead guitar playing. So you figure this out and then you copy and paste it. Now for this part of the chorus, this is a bit more difficult because the lead guitar is more buried in the mix and you can't properly hear this note right here. But you can figure it out because in this section right here, there is a note that's below the main note. Let's call it this, the main note, because that's the start of the chorus. So there is a note that sounds lower in pitch than the main note, and then there is also, it kind of sounds like there is also a third note, but this one is incredibly hard to listen to hear. Let me show it to you. And this is an harmonic, which when I will record the guitars, I will actually do, but for now it's 1 octave down. It should be an octave up because it's an harmonic, but whatever. So really, you shouldn't really worry about this. If you do not get this 100% correctly, it doesn't really matter because you can't even really hear it properly in the mix. So yeah, just do it as best as you can, and if you're unsure, just try to replicate whatever you're hearing, and that's it. So just make sure that the notes, the main notes, the most important ones are actually there. So you see how this is an ascending motion, right? So make sure you get this because it's the most important one. And you can actually kind of hear it. So you can hear that this guitar is going up. And you can hear that this guitar is doing this kind of semitone dance over here. So because this is dissonant. So if you remove this one and instead it's like this, there is no dissonance anymore. So it doesn't create that suspense, that feeling of dissonance. So just make sure you pay attention to these ones, because these are the most important ones, right? Whatever else that you can't quite figure out, just try your best, because they're buried in the mix. So they're there to just make space. I mean, to fill the space in the mix. So, yeah. Then this is the same riff. This is the same riff. Here there is, I think, some kind of noise at the end. Yeah, it's a harmonic noise, which maybe I will forget in the recording phase, but no, I won't. So this is the same chorus, whatever. And I think this is actually supposed to be D. Yeah, it makes more sense. So, like, you can't quite hear this note, right? Listen to it. It's kind of buried, but you can hear this D. But since it makes sense for it to just go B, B, and D, instead of it to be B, 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 and D, I just put it like this, because it makes sense, right? So, but you can't actually hear it. So even if this one was still a B, no one would give a shit. No one would give a shit about it, because you can't actually hear it unless in your mix you can hear it. So, but we will mix it like it's been mixed in the original. So this is more of the chorus and whatnot. This is the bridge. The bridge was also huge. You can't really hear almost anything. So can you hear this part right here, right? You can't. You can basically hear this if you pay attention, but this part right here is quite impossible to hear unless you kind of slow it down. And it kind of sounds like it's still the same tremolo on the G instead of doing this G sharp. But yeah, it doesn't sound like it's this G sharp at all. But if it's not, then how come I can hear this? This doesn't really make sense to be alone by itself, right? So, but you can't really hear this part properly, so just do your best. I mean, who gives a shit, right? As long as this part over here, that is the most important ones. The most important one is actually correct. Like, this is correct, this is correct. Who gives a shit about this, right? I can hear G sharp in there, and I can hear an F. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just bring this all down to an F and just add a tremolo to the F and be done with it. You can't, basically my point is, you can't hear this properly in the mix. So whatever you do is still gonna sound like it's the original if you mix it like the original, right? So like, do whatever the fuck you want with this part that you can't hear. Just make sure that it makes sense, right? So. You can't really hear this one, right? But it kind of sounds like it's the same as this section over here. So you just copy it and paste it until it doesn't sound like it's the same anymore, but it sounds the same throughout this entire parts. So I just left it like this, especially because there is a synth in the background that's playing with the same note. This is what the solo sounds by itself. Right, but this is because it's just an electric guitar that's not being edited, because right here there should be a tapping motion put in, and here there should be a bend, an unison bend, and it's done. I mean, if you play guitars, you probably already know how it's done, but for information's sake, I fucking do. So where's my picture? Here it is. So this unison band is done by picking a note and figure out the same note on the string above it, and then just kind of sliding one towards the other. So you start one semitone below, so you're playing you're playing a chord that's two semitones, one semitone of difference, and then you kind of slide whichever one's to the other one. So I mean, you can't hear it, but that's how you do it. That's how this effect is done right here. So when I record this guitar and they see this, I know that that's what I'm supposed to do. And here there should be some kind of break noise, like you're sliding across the strings. Like across the strings and making some noises when it's actually plugged in, right? So that's why I did this nonsense right here, to just remind myself that when I see it, I have to just make some noise. Now, this bar right here, how did you figure it out? So when you put the song to stretch and it locks to the BPM of its actual BPM, you can change the BPM and it will still be in time and it will still keep its pitch because it's locked to the project file now. So you slow it down and you listen. So you can listen on how it's you can basically hear this part, right? But previously you can't really hear it properly. But when you recreate guitar solos, keep in mind that even though the guitarist is tapping, which he is, by the way, I killed my monitor, which is, you can only play like 3 notes and then just keep changing between these notes, unless you can use his pinky, but that's quite difficult. Especially the higher up you go, it becomes more difficult. So when he's tapping, mainly the only one that's changing is the right hand that's tapping the notes, but sometimes you can also just change the left hand and the right hand accordingly. But it doesn't sound like he's doing this, right? It sounds like it's still remaining within this window. So within this window right here, right? So fucking hell, this cable. So slow it down, listen to the accents, to the highest notes. Put them first down in the piano roll and then try to figure out whether the pattern was too low below them or a bit lower, later on. The better you get, the easier it's going to be for you to figure this out. So, maybe the beginning for you, it will sound like it's something like this, right? But just know about the instrument, and it will actually teach you a lot on how to replicate instrumentals. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you figure this part out. So I figured this part here, and then I guess that it's gonna play the same thing until it changes, right? Here I heard a change in this note. It kind of sounded a bit sharper than the other notes, but it can be a recording error, or it can also be just my imagination and this is not happening, but I decided to leave it in because that's what I'm hearing. So maybe later on I will stop hearing this and I will be like, yo, it's actually G, it's not a G sharp. But for now, I leave it like this, and it doesn't really make a huge difference in the mix. I mean, you listen now, both the solo and my replica sounded together. Here is going a bit up like this. So you hear how there is no dissonance, there is no difference in time, in whatever. They all sound cohesive. They both sound cohesive. So that's gonna tell you that you did a very good job at replicating the solo, right? But since it's so fast that maybe if you played this note right here instead of it being more to the left, more to the right, I mean, maybe it doesn't really sound that different, but just get this pattern right and then just copy and paste it until you will notice some differences. And this same pattern here is basically this one, but it's been playing in higher range, higher register. And then at the end, it's going to go up, reaching this note, which is how I figured that it's going to be these notes right here. Because as a guitarist, when you go up, you're not going to just suddenly change pattern, right? You can't do this. And then when you go up, you do this. Like you can't, especially at this fast, it's basically impossible. So it's going to be the same pattern or very close to it, but still in the key of D sharp major. So you figure out this pattern, then you see, actually you hear how it's going up, leading to a note. So you put the lowest note that you can, which is in this section right here. The lowest note that you hear, which in this case I'm counting this whole section as a low note. And then you figure out the higher note, which is this G6. I actually muted the sound. So from this section here, which is the lowest note, and this highest note is going up, right? It's only going up. It's not going up and down, it's just going up. So within these two boundaries, you replicate the same pattern and you kind of make it go up, but still stay in the key, and it's gonna sound good because that's what it's playing, or at least very close to it. So that's how you do it. For the rhythmic guitars, they are playing the same thing as a bass. So sometimes you can't actually even hear the guitars, but I think they're still there. They are just buried in the mix. But yeah. So in these two verses, I hear that there is less impact than these breaks when the guitars kick in. So I assumed that it was because it was playing the full chord. So I just removed the higher notes, the higher octave. So yeah, for this verse right here, I can't hear any guitar playing, but just a bass. But here, there is a guitar. There is a guitar, and also here. So yeah, you may be tempted to copy and paste it because it's the same, but this minor detail is what's gonna separate you from an AI or somebody else. I don't know. Just the better you get, the more faithful to the original you're gonna be, right? So they didn't put a guitar strike here, so I'm not gonna put it either. That's how I did the guitars. And I was talking also a bit about sound design, and how when you sound design, your main focus should be to figure out what the purpose of the original sound is. So think of it like a dubstep song, right? So if you have a dubstep bass, or rather if you have multiple dubstep basses, because a dubstep song has multiple basses, one main, most fillers, then for different drops, they also change the sounds to make it more interesting. So think of it like that, right? What is this sound that you hear, this synth? On your left speaker, what is it trying to do? It's basically trying to create confusion, try to make this part more interesting, and it kind of sounds more aggressive but mellow at the same time. It doesn't sound like it's got a lot of higher frequencies, but it doesn't sound so easy on the ears either. So it's not going to be a sine wave, and it's not going to be a triangle wave. So there are two other options: a saw wave or a square wave. It sounds to me like it's more of a saw wave and more like an organ kind of synth. So we're going to do it like that in the later episodes when we're going to talk about sound effects and all of that. So think of it like this: what is it trying to achieve? And if you can't replicate the sound accurately, just try to replicate what it's trying to do, what its job is basically. So if its job is to just add something to the left ear, whatever it may be, just do it like that. Try to replicate the sound as accurately as you can. If you can't, but just try to do something that kind of gets the job done the same way that it was intended in the original one. So yeah, that's the case of this synth right here, because it's been only played in the breaks. So, and it's kind of a lead. It's just there to create confusion because it's not playing the same thing as the guitar riff. So we will create something, and you will later on realize that even though it may not be the same, but I think I will recreate the same kind of sound. You will see that even though it's not the same, it still gets the job done. So that's it for this video, and sorry about me not inputting the notes in the piano roll, but I've already done. But I tried to record the videos, I've already told you, and that the audio was also fucked up because I fucked up some settings in the compressor in OBS. Oh well, it actually got fucked by itself. I don't know how that would happen because I didn't touch it, but anyway. So yeah, this is it for this video. The other one was 2 hours long, so on one hand, I'm actually grateful that it got fucked, because I didn't want to put a 2-hour long video. And I'm also unsure on how interesting it would be to have sections of complete silence and only the main song playing, because I mute all my instruments when I'm trying to input them in the piano roll, because I can actually hear them when I input them. So since I can actually hear them when I put them in the piano roll, and I can also play the notes with my keyboard, I don't really have to unmute them, because it's just gonna distract me while I play the song to try to figure out what the fuck I'm playing. So basically you would have ended up with 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of me just listening to the song on repeat and inputting out the solo and whatnot. So yeah, this is it for this video.